October 12th, 2020. The Walker home sat on a quiet suburban street where nothing ever seemed out of place. Neighbors knew each other's routines. Kids played outside until dusk. And secrets, well, secrets weren't supposed to survive here. But that night, just past 11:30 p.m., the sound of shattering glass broke the silence. A sound small enough to ignore, yet chilling enough that later neighbors swore it didn't sound like an accident. Inside the Walker home, Daniel Walker, a respected accountant, a father, a man everyone thought they knew, was found dead on the living room floor. His head resting near a pool of crimson, beside a broken wine glass. Police rushed to the scene. The first call didn't come from his wife, Elena.
What's your emergency?
Strangely, it came from a neighbor. Elena hadn't dialed 911 at all. And when officers asked her why, her answer was unsettlingly vague. She said she'd frozen, that she couldn't move, couldn't speak. Yet detectives noted something strange. Her phone was in her hand when they arrived, screen lit, as if she'd been about to call, but hadn't. As the investigation began, suspicion naturally fell on Elena. There were whispers of arguments, of tension in the marriage. Friends quietly admitted Daniel had been spending more late nights at work than usual. And one coworker revealed he'd recently been seen leaving with someone else, a woman who wasn't his wife. But then, another twist emerged. The neighbor who called 911, a man named Victor Hayes, claimed he saw shadows moving in the Walkers' living room before the glass broke. He insisted there had been two figures inside, not one. And yet, when police questioned him further, his timeline didn't quite make sense. How could he have seen movement if his own lights were off? How could he describe what he claimed to see in such detail, unless he had been closer than he admitted? By now, detectives were looking at two possible suspects: the grieving wife who didn't call for help, and the neighbor who knew a little too much. But then came the most disturbing discovery. Daniel's phone, recovered from the scene, had a final voicemail on it. A message he'd left, unsent, only minutes before he died. In it, his voice shook. He whispered words that investigators have never released in full. But fragments were leaked. If anything happens tonight, it wasn't an accident. And it wasn't Elena. That one line sent the entire case spiraling. If Daniel himself was clearing his wife, then who was he afraid of? And why leave such a cryptic warning instead of simply naming the person? Police pressed harder on Victor, the neighbor, but nothing concrete tied him to the crime. His fingerprints weren't on the glass, and his alibi, thin as it was, held up just enough to avoid charges. As for Elena, though suspicion lingered, there was no evidence of her involvement. Police worked tirelessly, pulling surveillance from the neighborhood. At first, it seemed like nothing, but then, almost overlooked, a neighbor's camera showed Daniel arriving home around 10:47 p.m. Just minutes later, another shadow entered the house. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't a masked intruder. It was Elena. Confronted with the footage, Elena's carefully built calm unraveled. Investigators revealed what they had pieced together: months of resentment, jealousy, and a secret affair. The broken wine glass wasn't an accident. It was the moment Daniel confronted her about her betrayal, threatening to expose her to her lover's wife. The fight escalated. In a flash of rage, Elena struck him, one fatal blow, and silence. Instead of calling 911, she waited. She staged the scene, scattering the glass, hoping suspicion would fall on an unknown intruder. But what she didn't count on was the voicemail. That recording betrayed her. Hidden in the static, detectives heard her voice, cold, sharp, arguing with Daniel in his final minutes. The truth was undeniable. Daniel's death wasn't a mystery after all. It wasn't the work of a thief or some faceless killer lurking in the night. It was his wife, the woman who shared his home, his life, and his trust. Elena was arrested, her mask shattered just like the wine glass on the floor. And with her confession, the whispers that haunted the neighborhood finally found their answer. But for Daniel's brother Evan, who still keeps that voicemail saved. One sound remains forever burned into memory. The last argument, the crash of glass, and the silence that followed. This is Whisper Files. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your theory in the comments below.